10 things you didn't know about Max Verstappen. The legend of the Flying Dutchman is a ghost story that centers around a ship that's destined to keep sailing the seas forever. In Formula 1, they've got a completely different type of Flying Dutchman, and this one doesn't seem to care about anything other than winning. If the 2022 season is anything to go by, Max Verstappen is about to sail through the tides of F1 to snatch championships and wins from the jaws of his opponents. Touted as the man leading the next generation, there is a lot of buzz about the 25-year-old driver. So far, he has 2 championships to his name and doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. After an electrifying season last year, Verstappen now holds Formula One's record of the most wins in a single season. With all his amazing accolades, there's still a strong sense of mystery surrounding Max, and we are going to uncover some amazing facts you likely never knew about him. Stick around, and you might learn a couple of eye-opening facts, including the reason why he once gave his dad a nosebleed. 1. Verstappen's first car. Back when things were much simpler and a lot less successful for Red Bull F1, the team and manufacturer pairing was between Red Bull Racing and Renault. Things were a bit interesting to say the least. If you've seen The Drive to Survive, you've probably had a glimpse into what that relationship was like. With the existence of that partnership, young Max Verstappen was given a Renault Clio back in his Toro Rosso days. Unsurprisingly, he was still too young to drive on the road, so it was mostly left in his garage. He still praised the aerodynamics, expressing a love for its downforce and quickness in corners. 2. He sat through 10 hours of Formula E as a sanction. Now look, the FIA has many things to pay attention to, so they are constantly busy. However, there are still some questionable responses given to drivers who fall short of their rules. On more than a few occasions, Max has been called in to meet with the stewards, receiving a stern warning or sanction. For a collision with Esteban Ocon in 2018, Verstappen was given 2 days of public service with the FIA to learn and assist the stewards. When asked about it, Max gave details on his experience, particularly his service at a Formula E race in Monaco, where he sat and observed the race and stewards. He described it by saying it was not that bad. 3. His private jet. Seeing Max walk into the paddock fully dressed in Red Bull gear is a standard practice. It can also make you forget that he's a pretty loaded guy. As the second best paid driver in the sport, he makes the most of his well-deserved earnings by buying some luxury and paying for convenience. The Dassault Falcon 900EX is his private jet of choice. Coming in at a price range of $7 to $9 million, the French-made jet is luxury personified. For maintenance, Max has to provide a large sum of 1 and 2 million euros every year. This particular jet was bought from billionaire and ex-F1 team owner Richard Branson. 4. His love for football and FIFA. Most of the time, Max can be seen doing something car-related. But it's important to remember that as a European boy, it's almost in his DNA to have a deep-rooted love for the game of football. Verstappen is a fan of the Spanish and Dutch national teams. He also supports Dutch league team, PSV, in Spain's Barcelona. Max's main form of appreciating the sport has to be in the EA Sports FIFA games. He can usually be found spending his free time playing FIFA if he isn't racing in a simulator. During the 2022 US GP weekend, he even spent 14 hours playing the game. If that's his passion during the race weekend, we can only imagine what it's like for a season break. 5. Verstappen could have been Belgium's first world champion. Yes, you heard that right. Even with the Belgian nationality that a few F1 drivers seem to have, there has never been a driver flying under the Belgian flag as a champion. For Verstappen, he was born and raised in Belgium, traveled with a Belgian passport, but he still chose to race under a Dutch license. The reason behind this can be cited to his father, who taught him how to drive. He was also raised around Dutch people, even while in Belgium. So that identity seems to resonate with him more. On the current grid, there are 2 other drivers with Belgian nationalities, Lando Norris and Lance Stroll. Neither of them race under the Belgian license. 6. His dad got a nosebleed from Max's first F1 win. After receiving a promotion to the senior team 4 races into the season, Verstappen was expected to slowly ease into the seat and responsibility it came with. However, the absolute brilliance of his first Red Bull race was enough to make his dad anxious. Feeling a lot of pressure from watching his son, Jos Verstappen even endured a nosebleed while watching the event in the final laps. If that's how his dad felt as a viewer, we can only imagine what it must have been like for Max himself. 7. His fans have a theme song dedicated to Max. If you've been watching all the races over the years, you're probably familiar with the Orange Army. This unmistakable crowd is a polarizing group dedicated to a die-hard support for Max Verstappen. You'll identify them with an orange mist of paint during races like the Dutch, Austrian, and Belgian Grand Prix. In 2016, 3 fans dubbed themselves as the Pit Stop Boys, composing a song called Super Max. The song has stuck around and can usually be heard during a race with the Orange Army in tow. 8. He tends to prefer a loose seatbelt. All F1 drivers are daredevils, but some are more attracted to the flames than others. With Verstappen, he is among the biggest risk takers. According to veteran David Coulthard, Max once mentioned that he doesn't like to run his seatbelt in a tight manner. He reportedly prefers the added confidence to feeling free in the car. It's a fascinating thing to have that much dedication to the craft. While the added freedom of movement isn't going to be anything special, the psychological effect of having a little room will make a big difference for a driver like Max. 9. Max has an amazing ability to avoid distractions. From radio messages, you might assume that Verstappen has a short temper and is easily distracted, but that can't be further from the truth. Driving at 200 miles per hour comes with a quick decision-making and an ascended level of focus. When there's suddenly a shift in the wind or an instability in the car, Max is capable of switching off the need for an emotional response. This makes him settle into a fully immersed state with the car. He can compartmentalize his emotions quite well during a race. The same can be said for a driver like Lewis Hamilton. The best F1 drivers are capable of avoiding distractions and clearly communicating their concerns while at top speeds. 10. His teammates still consider him to be a mystery. Sharing a driver's seat with someone for an F1 season requires a level of camaraderie that surpasses one's relationships with the rest of a grid. For anyone that has shared a seat with Max Verstappen, they can attest to the fact that he's a bit of an odd one. Most drivers have pre-race rituals that involve taking a look at data or discussing with engineers. But for Max, he's unable to do all that. Instead, he's got a tendency to play some FIFA or Call of Duty. According to Alex Albon, Max's self-confidence is admirable, and a lot of people might mistake it for arrogance. In reality, that's just how he functions. For any regular person, you can think of it as how you prepare yourself for a presentation. Learning the subject and having a deep understanding is more important than researching your lines. With knowledge, you can keep yourself busy with other things to avoid overthinking. Bonus fact: Verstappen will likely be F1's youngest driver ever. Max started his Formula 1 career at 17, sealing the deal as the sport's youngest driver. This achievement wasn't truly set in stone until the FIA officially changed the rules to ensure that F1 drivers can only begin at 18 years old. It's unlikely that we'll see this rule change in the future. It's still possible that it can be reversed though. The problem is that Max is a once-in-a-generation type of talent. Verstappen is still pretty young, and he has already achieved so much in his career. For this driver, there's no limit to what he's capable of as time goes on. Now, are you ready for some F1 action that will leave you speechless? The next video, Insane F1 Moments You Have to See to Believe, is packed with some of the most unbelievable moments in F1 history. Don't miss it. It's a must-watch for any F1 fan.